All right. Hello, folks, and welcome to another episode of the A to Z Sports Big Orange podcast. My microphone is broken or something, and so apologies for the wonky audio. But wherever you listen throughout the world, we thank you so much for listening to us. We talk everything Vols every week here on the Big Orange podcast. If that's something you want to listen to on the regular, go over to the A to Z Sports Podcast Network feed, rate, review, but most importantly, subscribe when you get there, because if you do subscribe, you won't miss our shows when we drop them on Mondays. But speaking of Mondays, it is one right now at 6 p.m. Eastern time, and that means we're live on YouTube. Go over to the YouTube channel, the A to Z Sports Nashville YouTube channel to be exact, and hit that subscribe button, but hit that notification bell. If you do that, you'll be notified when we go live on YouTube. You can come over, hang out with us. You can comment, like Volunteer here, who he's already in here less than 4 weeks until it is football time in Tennessee. That is true, Volunteer. Thank you for tuning in. So hit that notification bell so you can be like him and come hang out. At Troll_Burris, at Zach TNT, at A to Z Sports, Facebook.com/A to Z Sports National, and A to Z Sports.com for all the stuff that Zach writes on the internet. Oh boy, it couldn't just be easy, could it, Zach? Where we talked about it last week, our what we're anticipating for fall camp, and he said the biggest thing: nobody get injured, no injuries, all help, please, nothing, no headlines. 2 days in, and already, I don't know if it was 2 days, might have been a few more days than that. We already got a major injury to talk about. What's up, Zach?
Yeah, it's less than a week, but hey, it's inevitable in football. You're already starting to see it in the NFL a little bit, and it's just unfortunately that time of year. You just hope everybody gets through unscathed, but it's tough. You get back into the grind, and if your body's just not in midseason form, and all it takes is pivoting, on a knee the wrong direction, and the whole season's over. It's a scary thing when you think about being at risk like that every time you step onto the field, but can't really think about that stuff. Just gotta hope for the best, and hopefully that'll which we'll get into that injury, the only one that Tennessee will deal with this during fall camp.
I certainly hope so. We're going to talk about it all in tonight's show: injury updates, camp updates, general things that folks have been seeing, things that folks have been saying from everybody that's been there. We're going to discuss that, and then yet another huge pickup on the recruiting trail for Tennessee, and we got to discuss that too. We'll talk about it all. You know where it's going right after I tell you about our great sponsors in sports, the new sports book in Tennessee that's bringing sports betting to a whole new level. When you sign up for Zen Sports, you'll automatically earn up to a $100 no-danger first wager. If your first bet loses, you'll be reimbursed for the amount of your bet up to $100. But there's even more good news because of the Zen Sports one-of-a-kind VIP rewards program. If you qualify, you can earn monthly comps at sporting events, concerts, you name it. There's even sportsbook bonuses. The VIP program is by invite only. So if you feel that your Zen Sports play qualifies for VIP consideration, check it out at zensports.com/VIP. What are you waiting for? Zen Sports offers true odds on all parlays. Get going and download their app at zensports.com today. Zen Sports. Betting just got better. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. No danger. First wager limited plus 500 odds. So qualify boosted odds are derived from equivalent parlay bets offered in Tennessee. Must be 21 or older in Tennessee to bet. All right. So camp started last week, I believe Wednesday. So under 7 days in. And on the whole, been generally uneventful. I've watched some of the video. We haven't been able to go, but of course, even the people that can go don't exactly see the world while they're there. They see what Josh Heupel wants them to see, and that's okay because that's something. And hasn't been a ton of headlines as far as that goes. There was a great interview that you picked out from Nico Iamaleava. I believe that was actually before fall practice even started. He gave that interview. And he had some really great quotes and just more of Nico being a guy who seems like he's kind of, advanced for his age. Seems like a guy who's going to be a great sort of field general out there. And that was great. But have you seen anything from the actual clips and video and what we've been able to see on the field, Zach, that's standing out?
No, yeah, it looks like the national championship team, and they're going to go undefeated. And I feel like we can pretty much call that now, right? Like we're seeing
Mark
routes
that down.
we're seeing routes against air that just can't be stopped, and I think that's obviously pretty telling. But no, I mean it's good to see guys out there like Brew McCoy and Chris Brazzell getting acclimated. Brew McCoy coming back from injury. Uh, Squirrel White, Dante Thornton. Hopefully, I think he's been a little bit banged up here during the first part of fall camp, and I think he'll be good to go. Just seeing that offense really come together, it feels like it's going to be so much more exciting than what we saw last season. Like last season was even more so than 2021, such a watered down version of this offense. Like you still saw the vertical shots at times, but it was a lot of screen passes, a lot of just vanilla play calling because of the quarterback play. And I think you're already seeing some of these highlight clips that Nico's a playmaker. He's surrounded by some playmakers. They got to prove themselves. Obviously, Chris Brazzell is new to the SEC. McCoy, as we talked about, coming back from injury. You got a couple of true freshmen that might get some playing time, and Braylon Staley, who's making impressive plays too during fall camp. Saw a clip of him making a nice one-handed catch. Saw a really impressive clip of him making a one-handed catch that his dad posted back in earlier in the summer. So that kid's clearly got some athletic ability and some really elite body control that's exciting. But again, the true freshman, you got to prove that you can do it in the SEC. But I think so far you're just seeing that this team should be more explosive on Saturdays this fall. Now you got the questions at running back that we've talked about at length last week or the week before. Some depth concerns there and some young guys that really have to step up. But I think just kind of how this offense operates, you need talent at that position. Obviously, you don't get what Jalen Wright gave you last season if he's not a NFL player, which the Dolphins believe he is. But you can get by. Jabari Small wasn't the fastest guy out there, but he was smart. He had good vision. He could pick up some chunk yardage. So I think as long as these guys kind of can get their pass protection skills polished a little bit, they should be able to spell Sampson and make that offense operate as a whole the way Josh Heupel envisions it. And I think this year, this is going to be the offense that Heupel has wanted to run since he's been at Tennessee. And we saw a lot of that in 2022, but I think even more so, this is going to be the full picture, like the full vision from Heupel. And it's always tweaked and there's little wrinkles added here and there. I think, though, this is going to be the closest to what, Heupel really wants to do.
I think so too. It's kind of a culmination of what he's been working on and sort of what we were sold as far as Heupel goes. We have proof of concept. I mean, 2022 happened. He got 9 wins with Joe Milton and with the limitations that Milton had in this offense. So we know that he can make that work. But I think you really have the pieces here that, again, knock on all of the wood. If everyone can stay healthy, let's stay healthy. No more injuries, please and thank you, especially at positions where Tennessee needs players the most. And then on offense, obviously, we're looking at running back. Please, please, please. No incidents there.
And center would be the other one.
Yes. We talked about that last week. Cade Mays is backed up by not sure we really know, and I'm not sure Josh Heupel does either.
I don't think they do because Glenn Ellerby talked about that. I was asked about that center position specifically today, and it was I think Vyson Lane and Satterwhite and some other guys that have been repping there, but nobody's really taken that job and run with it. And he threw out Dane Davis, who is still at Tennessee and is that guy that can play any position on the offensive line. He's been repping some at guard. He can play tackle. He's probably naturally a tackle given his size. But he can, as Glenn Ellerby put it, I think today, if a bomb goes off, it's going to be Dane Davis that can run in there and kind of run the offense very quickly at a moment's notice. It's nice that you have that guy, but that's not their long-term plan. So you kind of got two different things going on there. You got Dane Davis can – in a pinch, he can fill in there, but that's not the future. And they're trying to develop that future behind Cooper Mays. Hopefully it hurries up and happens quick because the answer really needs to be on the roster because I don't think you're going to find it in the offseason from the transfer portal.
Yeah, it might be something that you discover in season still.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the way that it goes. But that being said, it does look like the offense that Josh Heupel has really been hoping for, and hopefully it turns out to be that. Obviously, we'll see exactly how that goes here shortly. But yeah, I mean, Nico just looks so exciting, man. He just he's throwing against there, like you said. There are limitations to what we're seeing at the moment, but we saw him in the bowl game, and I just get the feeling that we're in for a treat here. And I mean, I said this just earlier. There was a quote that you pulled out from the interview that he did prior to fall camp, where he said he loves playing on the road. He said, no offense to Neyland Stadium, but he loves playing on the road specifically. And we got to see it in action, no doubt about that. But if Nico has that dog in him, along with the skill that we've already seen, man, that would be nice. I don't want to get out over my skis here. We got to see this kid play in an SEC football game. But it feels like we could be on to something really good here.
Yeah, for sure. I love that quote from Nico. I think it got taken the wrong way by some mostly opposing fans. It wasn't, I love playing in road games because I'm going to go dominate you and all this stuff, or I'm guaranteeing a victory. It wasn't that at all. It was just that mentality that I think all good teams and elite players have that. I think you've seen Tennessee go up against a ton of those players over the years where there's been times that Neyland's been rocking. It's been loud. Baker Mayfield at the Tennessee game in 2015 in Neyland. That was a tough one where they had to come back from 17 points down. And Baker, I mean, he is what he is as a quarterback in the NFL, but yeah, he had that dog in him, and he was able to not let the crowd get to him. And that was one of the loudest crowds we've heard at Neyland Stadium. And there's been others that have done that as well. Tennessee, on the other hand, the last couple of years, it's felt like even with Hendon Hooker, that Georgia game wasn't his best game. We all know what happened in the South Carolina game, that was more defensively. And then last season, they had problems on the road. You're beating Alabama at halftime, and you kind of blow that game in the second half. The Missouri game was a complete disaster. The Florida game was a bit of a disaster. So your toughest losses last season came on the road, and that's been kind of the bugaboo for Josh Heupel early during his tenure, is getting those wins on the road. And I think Nico having that mentality, being the team leader, that permeates to the rest of the team, you hope. And I think there's other players on the team that feel the same way. But it's not about, what you're going to do to a team on the road. It's just going into that arena with that mentality of it's us against the world. And I think you have to have that to have any shot at going to the playoff or winning a championship, because you're going to have to win tough road games. They're going to have to beat Oklahoma on the road. They're going to have to beat Kentucky again on the road. If you don't beat Oklahoma, then you're going to have to beat Georgia on the road. And that's, that's really tough. You haven't done that since a miracle in 2016 against Kirby Smart's worst team that he's had at Georgia. So you don't really feel good about that until they actually do it. So yeah, you got to win those road games early in the year so you don't put yourself in a must-win situation going to Athens in November.
We'll see soon enough. But it does feel like the potential is there for something great if again, keep everybody healthy, keep everything on track, and maybe you can really do something on offense. Now defense, we of course have to talk about this. James Pierce looks like a dog. You predicted this, Zach. You predicted that a video would come out. You said it would come out from UT itself. I think I just saw this from a reporter. But a couple of weeks ago, you said the video that would come out would be Lance Hurd versus James Pierce, and I saw that exact video. Lance Hurd actually won the rep from what it looked like. We kind of predicted that it would be James Pierce, and that the line would be, "Oh, is Lance Hurd overrated? Oh my god!" Actually, I mean the word that's coming out about him is that he's actually very good. And so that's nice. You got a couple of dogs on each line there. That's good to hear. But defense wise, I mean, we do have to talk about this injury that happened, but we have some good comments here and some comments that will relate to this. Tennessee football, he says, "Let's go Vols, go Vols." Distinguished gentleman says, "Cheering for Boo Cart, close family friend." Distinguished gentleman, a Georgia fan that tunes in for whatever reason. We'll talk about Boo Carter here in just a minute because he factors into this injury discussion. Lewis says second on the like button, Orange People. He's a Vandy fan. Another one. Why do you watch our show? I'm glad. I'm super glad that you do. Why? And then Jason says we cannot take any major injuries at running back, O-line, or secondary. Absolutely right. Brian says Charlie Burris certified dreamboat. Thank you, Brian. What's up, man?
Hear that all the time. I would just be walking in the grocery store and be like, yeah, Charlie guy. It's
Everybody says this to me.
Yeah.
It's I'm not sure why, but we appreciate it. This distinguished gentleman says, did Nico put on any weight? What, 25 pounds? I think is what I saw.
Yeah, since he arrived, I think that's total since he arrived, maybe as a recruit. I don't know. He had obviously plenty of room there to add some weight, and really had to, because you're going to take hits in the SEC. I don't care how good you are at quarterback. But Bryce Young survived it, so if he can survive it, I think any quarterback that's 9 inches taller than Bryce Young can survive it.
yes. Got to put on some bulk. Billy Bob says, afternoon, guys. It's only 28 days till football season. Yes. So excited. But Big Ten just asked, how good is the player that got hurt? So Jordan Thomas.
Oh, we'll never know because he never played under Willie Martinez hardly. So
exactly. So that's a hard question to answer. He was supposed to be probably a starter at defensive back this season. He's a junior. And last season, what were his stats? 219 snaps in 12 games.
He played some late in the year. I think he played against Georgia, maybe started some against Missouri, UConn, the bowl game. So late in the year there, he started getting some run.
In the bowl game, let's see, registered 3 tackles and a tackle for loss against Iowa in the bowl game. So
that's an elite offense. That's a pretty big number.
The potential is there, I would say, as far as it goes for Jordan Thomas. But he goes down with season-ending injury. Always horrendous when this happens. You just feel absolutely terrible for these kids. And obviously, my first reaction was, you have got to be kidding. Like this, it is the one position. Like running back is one thing. You can't afford for Dylan Sampson to get hurt, and you're a little thin at other positions. But this is the position,
especially on defense.
No one. I mean, on defense, it could not get more important in terms of player health than defensive back. You just gotta be kidding that a safety is going to be a dude that gets hurt here and is out for the season. Now, with that said, the thing that people immediately turned to was a distinguished gentleman's family friend, Boo Carter, and that's an exciting prospect because we speculated would Boo Carter get play this season because Heupel and Martinez have leaned hard into only playing the senior guys, the guys that have been there, done that, and sometimes they haven't been there, done that, and they're senior guys and they get to play regardless. Will this force his hand a little bit? I'm skeptical. I feel like they might search other options and see what they have, but how many options do they even have at this point? What do you think about that?
I think there's a good chance that Boo Carter, I don't know if this is going to be like, okay, he's the starter. It might be just more of like a starter by committee thing, or who knows. You know how they do these depth charts. There's a lot of ors in there. I feel like that's probably going to be the situation here. I think Boo Carter's an elite talent, an elite person as far as, a competitor, just the way he plays the game. Takes no plays off, treats practice like a game. Those are the type of players you want out there. I think he can be one of the best players in the SEC, maybe in the country. I mean, this is a guy that Deion Sanders badly wanted out there at Colorado because he recognized, this is a DB, and Deion knows DBs that can be a game changer. So I think it's good that he's going to have a little bit more of an opportunity to get on the field early in the season. If he's the starter, who knows? That'll play itself out here over the next few weeks. I think it's exciting that he can get that opportunity because we all want to see Boo Carter, and it might be an upgrade. Like I think his ceiling's probably obviously higher than Jordan Thomas. I don't know if he's going to be as good as Jordan Thomas now, just because of Thomas's understanding of the scheme that he's been in for 2 years before this season. But even if Boo Carter does come out and he's better than Jordan Thomas would have been, you're still losing an important depth piece. And it's a word that just we say it a lot. It gets thrown around a lot, but it's one of the main ingredients to winning in the SEC and winning deep in the season. And anytime you lose a starting SEC caliber defensive back, it's a blow. I don't care how many of them you have on your roster. That's a blow. I mean, that's one less SEC starter you have in your defense that you can rotate out. Who knows? Boo Carter gets banged up in a November game and needs to take, I don't know, a couple of series off. You force him out, to the sideline or something. You need somebody fresh to go in there. You're going to have, a Christian Charles, Christian Harrison, a Will Brooks that played a lot of snaps, former walk-on. But you don't have Jordan Thomas. It's just one less option you have there. So it hurts no matter what. I don't think it's something that's going to, drastically flip Tennessee's season expectations because of one injured defensive back. But I do think it's an injury that definitely hurts for sure.
No doubt about it. It is, as you said, the depth is the thing that hurts. I hope Boo Carter does come in and get a shot and turns out to be an absolute star. I hope he's an Eric Berry. That would be incredible. I don't want to put that on him because
you just did
one. Yeah, go out there and be one of the best DBs in college football history. Go and do that.
Would have been a Hall of Famer, if not for
been.
the unfortunate cancer diagnosis and I think an Achilles or whatever injury he dealt with there at the end of his career.
Yeah, no pressure. Just be a guy that is a Hall of Fame level player. That's all. But I hope he has that magical campaign. But yeah, just at that position, these things just happen. It's an extremely physical position. Last year, you were playing walk-ons. You mentioned Will Brooks there. Like, you are not in a good spot if that dude's having to get into the game. No offense to him. I think he knows this. if Will Brooks is honest with himself, like, Tennessee's in a tight spot if he's playing a lot of football. And that's that it just is not great. I wish that had not happened. While at the same time, I do hope that some of these young dudes really who appear to be potentially special get their shot. That would be great. But just before the season starts, really, like why in this season, where Heupel is finally getting to say our roster is the deepest it's ever been, and all of this stuff, you got to go and get injured at the thinnest spot on the team that's given Heupel the most trouble in his time at Tennessee.
I'm shocked they even revealed that he's going to miss the season. I figured Heupel would go out with he has a body injury,
lower body injury.
We'll see where he's at on the back end of the week as we get closer to the season kicking off, and hopefully we'll have him or something like that. You know how he did with Keenan Peely all season last year. We kept thinking Keenan Peely might have a shot to come back late in the season, and I think that was wrapped up pretty much in September that he wasn't going to play a down of football for Tennessee. But Heupel kept being kind of vague with that one.
Yeah, Brian says, former hockey podcaster Charlie Burris. I did used to talk hockey on a podcast with Brian, actually. And Heupel is he's NHL style. Speaking of hockey, in terms of his injury reports, they always it's an upper body injury. That's all you get to know. Whatever it may be, literally their arm could have fallen off. Upper body injury. That's all you're gonna know. And yeah, that is really Heupel's style. So at least he's just honest up front. This dude's not playing this season, so fair enough. But anything else before we move on to a little recruiting news, Zach, as it pertains to fall camp so far?
Yeah, obviously there's not a lot that's going to stand out. As you've mentioned, you don't get to see a lot, but the way that the coaching staff, Austin Price from VolQuest was on 104.5 The Zone the other morning talking about it too. Joshua Joseph's edge rusher that's going to be playing a lot opposite James Pierce. Sounds like he's kind of taking that leap. Pierce had the breakout season as a sophomore. They both came in as 4-star recruits. Neither one did a lot as true freshmen. I think Joseph's had a little more production. Pierce had his breakout season last year, and you see all the hype he's getting from the national media, talking about the 2025 NFL draft. I mean, ton of hype around this kid. And I think Joseph's has seen that, and he's upped his game a little bit. And if he can come out and he doesn't have to play at James Pierce's level. I mean, James Pierce is a freak athlete. But if he gets close to that, if he can just take advantage of all the extra attention that Pierce is going to get, I mean, man, that'd be huge for Tennessee's defense. If you can get just another stud edge rusher, and you got to stop two of these guys all of a sudden, that would be massive. I mean, you got Caleb Herring as well, but it really sounds like Josephs has taken a step forward this year. Kind of reminds me of Jalen Hyatt after his sophomore year. And we heard all that offseason about how Hyatt was putting in extra work and kind of rededicating himself to the game because he got a little complacent, kind of got into this routine where it just wasn't at his best. And maybe that's what the step that Josephs has taken this offseason. I think that would be massive. And it really just, who wouldn't want to play opposite James Pierce? It makes you wonder, really, Tyler Barron leaving for Miami, or for Ole Miss, then Louisville, then Miami. I'm sure there was a lot of NIL stuff there, but he's a guy that's got some draft buzz around him, and I can't imagine what would have been a better spot for him than playing opposite Pierce with all the attention Pierce was going to get. It could have been a huge season for him, but it could be Joseph's that's there to take advantage of that for Tennessee.
Man, that would be awesome. I hope that's all true because, I mean, dare I say, there is potential for Tennessee's defensive line as a whole to be a group of dogs this season. I think they could really be solid with Amari Thomas on the interior. Obviously, we've all been hearing about James Pearson, saw him last season, and so
a lot of veteran guys too. That's the thing, is like, it's not just young guy. They have some young guys that are exciting that are coming, like Jordan Ross, edge rusher. I mean, I think that might be one of the most under the radar 5-star recruits that Tennessee has ever signed, it feels like. And I know we talk about him some, but he was a top 10 in the nation from Alabama. And I mean, he looks like a dude that could be another future NFL edge rusher. And he's kind of got overshadowed a little bit because of the players on the roster, or because of signing a Nico, or getting commitments from 5-star quarterbacks, whatever the case is, or 5-star receivers like Mike Matthews. It feels like Ross has flown under the radar a little bit. I don't know how much he'll produce or contribute as a true freshman, but you lose Pierce, you got this guy coming in right behind him. It's a nice spot to be in for Tennessee's defensive line.
I don't think Heupel's making it up when he says this is the deepest team he's had. I think that's 100% true. And you do have more options at your disposal than you have in past years, just not at defensive back as much, unfortunately. Yeah, more than past years, probably, but still probably not full-blown, top-notch SEC elite level options across the board there. So we'll see what happens. A couple of off the wall before we move on. A couple of off the wall questions here that I think we can answer quickly. Billy Bob says, "This is your show with all due respect, but who is your sleeper SEC team?"
That's a tough one anymore, because with sleeper, everybody gets so much hype, and there's just so much going around, so much talking during the offseason that it feels like Tennessee's not in that group, obviously, because they're getting that dark horse playoff stuff, but Missouri's already a team that's talked about getting in there. Ole Miss is a team that's talked about it. Obviously, LSU, Texas, Alabama, Georgia, we know all about them. I don't know. Is it Oklahoma? I mean, they have a 5-star quarterback as well. That's the same class as Nico. But they did lose their offensive coordinator, Jeff Lebby, going to Mississippi State. I don't know. Is it Mississippi State? Does he come in and does Jeff Lebby come in and kind of have I don't think he's going to go to the playoff or anything like that, but does he have a surprising winning season there like Heupel did in his first year at Tennessee? I know who I don't think it is. I don't think it's Florida at all.
No.
The more I see about them this offseason and some of their training camp stuff and the effort, I don't know. The vibes do not seem good. In Gainesville, Napier's already kind of had some Butch Jones type stuff where guys he signed are already leaving the program. And I know it's easier to do that now, but that's usually not a great sign early in a coach's tenure.
Yeah, I think Florida's going to stink. And maybe I'm just manifesting that because I want them to stink. But I guess the Auburn.
Yeah, that could be possible. And they're recruiting really well too. Yeah. And it's Hugh Freeze. I mean, he's done it before.
Yeah, Freeze has been surprisingly good in the past. I know it was years and years ago, but he was good at Liberty right before Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Wouldn't
can see
shock me if they beat Alabama. I mean, Auburn
that. Yeah,
always it's no matter what is a tough game for Alabama, and I mean, I think they have the. I don't want to say the better coach for sure because I don't know enough about Kalen DeBoer and we haven't seen him in an SEC game. But Hugh Freeze, I think you can say is the for now the better SEC coach just because he has the experience. That'll be a tough one for Alabama.
it is in Tuscaloosa, so they do have that going for them.
I don't know what to expect from Alabama, to be honest. I mean, this is a new
No,
offense. It's a new culture. It's just a lot there that can go wrong. But at the same time, if DeBoer gets it right, his offenses can be exciting. They can be hard to stop. We saw that at Washington. Now, obviously, you're going to play the grind of an SEC schedule, so that might not work every week. But we said the same things about Josh Heupel too when he got the job at Tennessee. So I think it's fair to hand those questions to DeBoer, but it's not fair to suggest that he's just going to fail automatically. I'm really intrigued to see how that goes.
yeah, it feels like if it does fall off, it might take a couple of years. I mean,
It
he's
could, yeah.
working with a top notch roster right now. They got a good recruiting class coming in. That's living off the shine of Saban still. I think. DeBoer has no record of his own yet, but yeah, I could see them only losing 2 games this whole season, and kind of being like, oh, is DeBoer just gonna keep the dynasty going? And I could see that. Yeah, sadly. So
Yeah.
Tennessee needs to win so that doesn't happen. Go ahead
Yeah.
and just beat this guy, and I think it can. And then there was this one too. What's the best home game this season to take 2 kids, 11 and 6, that have short attention spans?
I would
Alabama. What could go wrong?
I would definitely rule out Chattanooga, the season opener, because it's going to be 9 million degrees, and I'm sure most of us have been at Neyland in one of those like last Saturday in August games. I
Oh,
remember I was at Butch Jones' first game as a fan, and I sat in the very front part of the upper deck in one of the end zones. It was miserable. It was awful. It was one of the hottest games I've ever been to. Don't go to that one.
yeah, it is. It's gonna be a scorcher. I might go probably Mississippi State. Their fans aren't gonna come in and be super hostile. There's not really just that relationship there. Um, I think Tennessee's probably going to run them out of the building. There's potential for that because I think Mississippi State's not going to be very good this year. And maybe Mississippi State's good. You see a good football game, but I could just see it's not going to be nasty and contentious. Probably not going to be that many Mississippi State fans there, especially if they stink.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. But and then Billy Bob says I think Ole Miss could be the sleeper team.
I mean, you can't call them a sleeper at this point. I think they're number, like 6 in the preseason coaches poll. I mean, Ole Miss is getting a
Yeah, is that a
lot of
sleeper?
hype. I don't think, and Lane Kiffin's not a fan of all that hype. He learned that from Nick Saban, the old rat poison deal. Kiffin doesn't love it. I think they're getting so much hype that it could really be the opposite for them. It could almost be they don't live up to expectations and they go 8-5, and all of a sudden, oh God, what's the deal here with Lane Kiffin? Are they in trouble? It might not play out that way, but it wouldn't shock me. Sometimes those teams get the high. I mean, we've seen with Tennessee before when Butch Jones was there. They were predicted to win the East, by some media folks out there, and we saw how that went.
Sad. And then Lou Man says he retracted his like button and now he's hit the dislike button. Thanks, Lou Man. That's true Vandy fan fashion there. All right. Let's talk about recruiting. Huge recruiting pickup and just more momentum for Tennessee on the trail right now. And we'll talk about it right after it. Talk about Farm Bureau health plans. Farm Bureau has been serving Tennesseans for over 75 years. Much has changed in Tennessee over the years, but some has stayed the same. Farm Bureau Health Plans has always valued personal relationships, especially when it comes to good health and good service. Plan on Farm Bureau Health Plans for health, dental, and vision. For better coverage, better rates, and better service, go to fbhp.com/ATOZ or walk into one of their 200 plus locations across the state. That is fbhp.com/ATOZ. Farm Bureau Health Plan. Huge thanks to them. Go get yourself a health plan. On the recruiting trail, we've talked about in recent weeks that Tennessee has been on just a tear. And it could just be getting that much better coming up here. You had Deshaun Brink, flipped from Oregon. Yeah, it's Shady Hayward. Darian Smith was another one. We hadn't talked about him on the show yet, but a 3-star defensive lineman that committed. Christian Gass. All this whole set of dudes. This is just in the last couple weeks. And then the number one quarterback from the class of 2026, and one of the top players. Where is he exactly ranked?
24/7 has him number 1 overall.
Yes, the number one overall player nationally and the number one quarterback in the class of 2026, Faison Brandon. It was predicted that he was going to come to Tennessee for probably a couple months now, if not even a little bit longer than that. It had felt like it was really trending Tennessee's way. And he commits to Tennessee over the weekend, and huge pickup. He's from your part of the world, actually, Zach, over there in North Carolina. And this kid looks special. It's awesome to pick up a dude like this early, to be a real class builder and a guy that could turn around, pull sort of what George McIntyre is doing right now and recruit for you, and kind of say, hey, we're trying to put together a championship team here at Tennessee. I'm already here. Come join, jump in the boat. And it's a massive pickup, and it's just continuing to build on what Heupel is doing. But specifically, I mean, Nico, Faison Brandon, George McIntyre, Jake Merklinger, all just elite quarterback, and they just continue to pour in. I don't think it's a coincidence, obviously, with Heupel, but what do you think of this pickup, Zach?
I mean, obviously, super massive to get this guy, to get him now, to kind of kick off your 2026 class. The 2025 class will be done here in a few months, and your full attention can go to that class. So to have Faison Brandon already in the boat, per se, for these games this season, when a lot of these 2026 guys are going to be at some of these Tennessee games this fall. And those are going to be key unofficial visits, and hopefully you have Faison Brandon there for some of those. I mean, he's from Greensboro. It's about 4 hours or so drive to Knoxville, so he should be able to make it in for some of those. And that's just one aspect of it. Just the fact that you're getting this kid too, that's he's not really a dual threat guy, but he can beat you with his legs, but he has a great arm, can make all the throws. Super competitive, super hungry to get better. His high school coach, Darryl Brown there at Grimsley, was on 104.5 The Zone in Nashville this morning, talking with our friends Ramon, Kayla, and Will. He said this kid was in the building at 6:30 Monday morning to get extra work in the weight room with the skill position players before they had their practice. And, it was hot in Central North Carolina today. So that says a lot that this kid committed. I mean, something that he's been thinking of his whole life, probably, has that moment on Saturday where he commits to Tennessee, and then Monday, he's not celebrating it really. He's just right back to work. And those are the kind of guys that Josh Heupel's recruiting. And you saw it with Jake Merklinger. He's sandwiched in there between Nico in the 2023 class and George McIntyre in the 2025 class, and he was fine. I mean, he didn't care. Like, he's a competitor. He said, I'm not afraid to go compete for a job. It's going to make me better. I want to go play for Josh Heupel. It'll play out how it plays out. The best quarterback will play. It's pretty much the type of guy that Heupel's going to recruit. Those are the only types of guys it feels like he's going to recruit, and he identifies it super early in the process. And he saw the traits that he liked in Faison Brandon when this kid had just turned 15. He just turned 16 in June, which is pretty insane to think about. So they're able to identify these traits in players pretty young, and that's helping them land these guys too, because there wasn't other 2026 quarterbacks that Josh Heupel was seriously pursuing. This was it. Alabama was supposed to be the biggest competition for Faison Brandon. The last week of July, they have a 2026 4 or 5-star quarterback on campus there for a visit. Tennessee doesn't. That it's just those kinds of little things, I think, that really attract quarterbacks to Tennessee. It was the same way with George McIntyre. They never really went after, Nico's brother that's in the 2025 class, who I think is probably underrated and is going to be a pretty good quarterback. Merklinger, that was kind of their guy in that class. And then Nico, I mean, that was the same class as Arch Manning, and Tennessee never got involved with Arch Manning under Heupel. Nico was their guy from the get-go. So it's just a testament to identifying talent and then securing that talent, getting commitments from those players. They're 4 for 4 on these quarterbacks that they've gone after with this strategy so far. Eventually, they might miss, but so far, I mean, that's a pretty good hit rate. I think you're afforded a mulligan once you go 4 for 4.
I just can't imagine being 16. I assume this kid's probably 16-ish.
Yeah, I think they said he just turned 16 in
Wow.
June, which would be right. That would put him at 18 in June, turning 18 in June before the start of his true freshman season in 2026.
So almost 15 years old. Just north of 15.
Yeah, when Tennessee offered him, he had just turned 15. That's wild.
And apparently that was a big factor how early Tennessee got in and kind of stuck with him. And but I can't imagine being that age. Like, I just think back to when I was 15, 16 and being like, I'm gonna willingly go into the gym at 6:30 a.m. and let's go. All I ever wanted to do was goof off. And to have that mentality at that age, that's got to be something that when you're a coach, you go, oof, okay, this kid is serious, and he has the attitude that we want to see here. Because I mean, you have to be a dog and get in there in the gym and really work hard to excel at the college level. I mean, it's a different level when you get there,
and you got to be self-motivated.
You really do. You really, really do. You're gonna have coaches that are pushing you like crazy, and Tennessee has a great strength staff. But it is really nice to have a kid that you can find that from, and so hopefully he turns out to be that number one player that 247 thinks he is. That would be great. I did see in the comments here, Randy is questioning your North Carolina knowledge, Zach.
Yeah.
He says it's longer than 4 hours from Greensboro.
It's a little bit longer. I know from where I live, I can do it like 3.5 hours, and Greensboro is about 40 minutes away from me. So,
well, let's
if I don't stop and I'm driving a little slightly over the speed limit.
Let's see who's correct. I actually made this drive just like 2 weeks ago.
Oh yeah, you did. Yeah.
Yeah, I was coming back from the beach. 4:24.
I could beat that.
Randy technically right here.
Yeah.
he got you.
Plus, he should Faison Brandon should still be in Knoxville this fall for some football games.
Yes, it's close enough. 424 is not that far away. And so yes, I think he should be able to be around and be a guy who can recruit for you and advocate for this class and for Josh Heupel. And it's just really exciting. I mean, it's just crazy to think about how well things are going on the recruiting trail, specifically with quarterbacks, and right now in general. But for years at this point with quarterbacks, it really is crazy. I mean, it's a run that you rarely see from anybody. I saw today a tweet that said it listed off the last teams that did what Tennessee is doing right now in terms of the level of quarterbacks that they're getting to commit consecutive years in a row. And it was Alabama, and it was Clemson, and it was Florida State, and it was, these programs. And it was going back, Florida State has kind of sucked in recent years, except for last year. It was Florida State back, when they were kind of stacking players with Jimbo, I think. And so it's something really special right now. And obviously with Heupel's offense, it sells itself clearly.
Yeah, it's not just the offense. The offense is a huge part of it, but I think it's Josh Heupel and the people around him. Josh Heupel has something that most of these coaches just cannot offer, and that's real life experience as a star quarterback, competing for a national championship on the Heisman stage, getting drafted, even though his NFL career didn't play out because of injuries. You don't have many coaches that can offer that. Lincoln Riley can't offer that. He doesn't have those experiences. Lane Kiffin doesn't. Just not many guys. Like Jim Harbaugh kind of had that same deal, and he was a quarterback whisperer there at Michigan and has been in the NFL. They trusted him because they knew he had been there. And I'm not saying that's always going to be the determining factor, but that's huge. You can and we've talked about it with Heupel so much. He can connect with such a wide array of people on different levels that are genuine ex-players from his era that are around the program. And then these quarterbacks that are going through a lot of the same things that he went through. It's just I think there's a comfort there with Heupel that they just know that this guy gets it. He knows exactly what it takes to be under the microscope, to compete in the biggest games, and it's just like I said, not everybody can offer that. And when you combine that with his personality, he's candid, he's genuine, he's down to earth. He's not, you got Chris Winkie, who's the offensive coordinator at Georgia Tech now, who has went down that same path. He was a Heisman winner, beat out Josh Heupel. He was in national championships, but he's just not the same personality either. I think with Heupel, you just kind of get the whole package, and it's lightning in a bottle right now for Tennessee.
It really is. It's awesome. Hopefully that train keeps on rolling, and I'll say this again. Everybody stay healthy in fall camp, please, and thank you. No more.
They're not going to listen, obviously, because we said that last week.
I really don't think they are. Dang it. But if it does happen, we'll talk about it right here every single week. We're closing in on actual preview time. I mean, what did somebody say? 28 days? Is it even 28 days? Because it's August 31st.
26
days. Man, right around the corner. So excited. And those preview episodes, we got to start talking real ball here. What in the world? It's already here. Tony Vitello carried us so far with the coverage of the baseball team that what did we even have to cover? Maybe 6 weeks without.
If that. Yeah, it wasn't much. Speaking of baseball, Christian Moore. I mean, shout out to that guy. Played 2 single-A games. And they're like, no, you're too good for this. And then he hit a home run in his first double-A game. There's no reason for the Angels. And by the way, if you watch the show, I'm a big Mets fan. Mets played the Angels this past weekend. Dropped the series in large part because nobody for the Mets can hit Ben Joyce. And J.D. Martinez, a 6-time All-Star, said this guy's been playing, 15 years in the majors. Won a World Series. He said, I've never seen a pitch come out of somebody's hand like that. It was mesmerizing. He's like, I guess I'll be on Instagram all over later, striking out. And he was. But there's really no reason for the Angels to bring Christian Moore up quite yet because they're not in a pennant race. They're not going to be in the playoffs. But how do you not? He's clearly ready, it seems like.
I think so. What did he end that game on? 105 mile an hour fastball. And it was his first save ever at the MLB level. It's so awesome. And Christian Moore, just ridiculous. What a pickup by the Angels. I love it. Okay. I think that's it. Charlie Burris, Zach Reagan. Thank you so much to everybody who tuned in, even the Georgia fans and the Vandy fans that watch. Thank you. we appreciate all of yous. Literally could not do it without you. Thank you. And we're, as I said, we're going to be talking real football here in just a minute. So tune in for that too. And we will talk to y'all next week.
See you.